Welcome to Cancelled Movie Report, the documentary podcast series that talks about the best movies that Hollywood never made. My name is Michael Campbell, but you can call me Cambo. And joining me, as always, so predictable, it's actor and comedian, Mr. Eden Porter.
Thank you very much for having me. I've always been Mr. Predictable.
Yes, it's what people say behind your back.
Yeah,
and I thought I should let you know.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
We were riding high. We had a very special guest last week, Stephanie Dixon.
I cannot wait till we figure out who's the guest is this week, Cambo.
Well, it's the gruesome twosome this week.
Oh, is it?
We're back to the classic.
Actually, I prefer that, Cambo. I prefer that.
And this week, so off the back of our, I'm going to say, surprisingly well received At the Mountains of Madness episode from last season.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great feedback about that episode.
Yeah, people seem to really like it. It won't surprise you to learn that we got a lot of Guillermo del Toro requests through, because obviously that was a Guillermo del Toro project. And
Guillermo del Toro joint?
Yes, joint. Yeah. I think he's famous for calling them joints.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think that's him.
This one was actually requested by a few people. It was requested by Renee Valdez and a Cinema Enema on Instagram.
Oh, so you know it's good.
Yeah. Yes, and this is all about the failed adaptation of Justice League Dark.
Can we have like a lightning sound effect coming over there?
Are you ready?
Yep.
There it is. Oh, spooky.
Spare no expense, Cambo.
And without any further ado, let's get it. The Justice League Dark is a fairly new concept to the world of DC, relatively speaking. But since issue 1, there has been interest growing in a film based on the series from a slew of directors. Well, in 2013, DC kicked off their own, admittedly rocky, cinematic universe, and they were looking for projects to compete with Marvel. Enter favorite filmmaker of this show, Guillermo del Toro, with a passion for the obscure and a love for the characters featured in the Justice League Dark books. And with a fan favorite character, John Constantine, as the leader, what could go wrong?
They've already done a Constantine film, Cambo. I'm confused.
They have.
A great, well-received Constantine film.
And they diverted not from the books. I'll have you know.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Here's a question. What the hell is Justice League Dark?
What the hell is Justice League Dark? Isn't it like, it's very similar to the Justice League with a spooky version, sort of, we've got some magic in there,
That's
we've
correct.
got creature features and things like that. Yeah.
So, I have a little bit of a history of the Justice League Dark because I feel like the general public might not be as aware of this concept. The Justice League, Batman, Superman, all of that.
All the big names.
They fight the big supervillains, the Lex Luthors and such.
Yeah.
But anything magical, anything mystical, anything a bit spooky, that's where you get the Justice League Dark. And it's full of like the kookier side of the DC universe. So, Justice League Dark, the team would make appearances, or the first appearance officially was in Justice League Dark #1 in September 2011. So it's a very new team.
Recently. Yeah.
Arguably, they kind of debuted all the way back in Swamp Thing when Alan Moore was writing unofficially. Yep. All the characters got together for the first time.
But
as a team, 2011 is where they first debuted.
So they were in Swamp Thing.
So this is made up.
They got together,
much like I guess the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. They were all individual characters, and someone just put them on a team.
Yeah.
So all of the Guardians of the Galaxy characters were already characters out there in the Marvel universe, and someone's like, let's make a team. We'll get Groot. We'll get Rocket Raccoon. We'll get Drax. They were all existing, and they just put them together.
It's exactly the same thing.
That's what Justice League Dark did. So yeah, it features the more supernatural characters in the DC universe, and they handle mystical threats and situations that are deemed too strange in scope for the traditional Justice League.
Because that's one of Superman's, besides kryptonite.
Yeah.
Magic is his other big weakness. So you got to get some support there.
Yeah.
That's when you call Justice League Dark.
Yeah. So created by Peter Milligan in DC, he wrote the first 8 issues, and then it was taken over from there by Jeff Lemire, who's a very renowned comic writer. Wrote things like Sweet Tooth and very acclaimed kind of writer. But it wasn't long after the series launched that there were immediately rumors that there might be a movie. And one of the people that was interested, Guillermo del Toro, he started developing it because he loves the mystic, he loves the monsters.
He loves all that monster creature features.
And when you look through the team of the Justice League Dark...
Can we go through the team?
Yeah,
Can we go through the team? Yeah, let's do it.
So let's start with John Constantine.
Yep.
So this is the most like nerd pushing up my glasses actually that I'll get.
Okay.
Is his name isn't John Constantine.
What? Is this fact of the podcast, Cameron?
His name is John Constantine.
What?
That is how you were supposed to pronounce his name. John Constantine.
Constantine?
Yes.
Why would you say that?
The American version of that name is John Constantine. But John Constantine is an Englishman, and Alan Moore, who created John Constantine, has said in no uncertain terms, it's Constantine, not Constantine. And there are actually many like panels in the book where he corrects people.
Oh, that is now written into...
rhymes with wine, not teen.
So in the comic,
canonically,
he corrects people.
Yes.
So it's like this meta thing.
Yes.
It's like people aren't getting this name right, so I'm going to actually write it into the comic book. And yet people still continue to call him John Constantine.
Yes, Constantine is the very American pronunciation. And I think the movie Constantine really sealed that for a lot of people.
Yeah. Massively.
But it is John Constantine. And he very much in Jeff Lemire's run took over as the leader. He was the leader.
That's my understanding that he's sort of...
Yes, early on they were led by a character called Madame Xanadu, who's kind of like a fortune teller mystic.
Yeah.
But
Does she wear a top hat?
No, you're thinking of Zatanna,
I'm thinking
the next member of the Justice League.
Sorry. Yep. No.
Zatanna.
My knowledge is like up here, Cambo, and you've just got to focus it in. Okay.
That's what I'm here to do.
Okay.
So Zatanna, she is a stage magician.
Yes.
And she actually has mystic powers like her father, Zatara.
Oh.
And she's most notably to evoke her spells, she has to speak backwards. That's
yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
We also have the character Deadman.
Trepusive. Trepusive. Yeah, good. Pick a bar. What the hell's pick a bar? Yeah, go.
We have Deadman.
Oh, yeah, Deadman.
Also known as Boston Brand. And now he is a ghost of an assassinated acrobat. And his power is he can possess bodies of the living. He can jump inside of people.
Yeah,
and he takes them over. So that's Deadman, Boston Brand. We have Jason Blood.
Oh.
So Jason Blood, he's the mortal vessel of the demon Etrigan.
Yes, Etrigan, yeah.
Think of him essentially like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Etrigan is the Hulk, the big demon that comes out. He can't control Etrigan once Etrigan is out. And Jason Blood, he's a very like foppish English man.
Yeah. Would you call him mild-mannered?
He's quite, I don't know, he's not mild-mannered. He's more like uppity and posh.
Oh, okay, good.
And yes, him and Etrigan don't get along. They
different personalities, oil and water, Cambo.
Exactly, but he's been living for a very, very long time. And then lastly, and this is really the in for Guillermo del Toro,
this is
Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Yes, Alec Holland to be exact. And probably with Constantine, the most well-known of the Justice League Dark. Humanoid plant, elemental creature. He's a swamp monster that resembles an anthropomorphic mound of like vegetable matter, and he fights to protect his swamp.
Yeah. He's great.
Very well regarded from, there's a run of Alan Moore comic books called The Saga of Swamp Thing back in the 80s, introduced John Constantine, introduced a lot of the characters from the Justice League Dark, and a favorite character of Guillermo del Toro. So he started on this project quite early, and we actually have a little bit about him talking about the project. The title at the time was actually called Dark Universe. A title that's now been tainted by...
Hang on, Cambo.
The Dark
I only
Universe.
know one famous Dark Universe.
And what a universe it is.
Yeah. And how many films do they have now? Like 7 or 8 films?
I can't even count.
Yeah, it's like...
The original title was Dark Universe, but very much based on the Justice League Dark comic books. Yeah. But he does refer to it as Dark Universe in this clip. But he's talking about the project and how it's coming together.
So, speaking of Warner Brothers, that rumor had floated a month or two ago about this, the DC supernatural heroes.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm writing the outline, and we already are in talks with a writer, a very, very good writer. I think people are going to be happy who we have chosen, and he accepted. And I've been courting this writer because I think it's the perfect guy for this job, and we're doing it. It's hopefully it'll happen. I mean, we don't know until they greenlight the movie.
Sure.
You know.
What is the title? Is it Dark?
Right now, the working title is Dark Universe.
Dark Universe. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time to be a comics fan.
I'm very excited, and hopefully, it'll happen. I don't control my destiny, as I have proven time and again.
So there you go. He was in talks. He was very interested. He loved a lot of the characters that were in it.
Yeah, Cam, it's interesting to know. It's never been more excited to be a comic book fan in the most monotone freaking voice ever.
Wow. Well, that's amazing.
My socks have been blown up.
Stop. Please stop. You're too much. So around the same time as Man of Steel was released, it was officially announced that Guillermo del Toro was working on a Justice League Dark film, at this point still titled Dark Universe.
So this was right around Man of Steel.
This was at the beginning of
This is
DC,
right at the start of DC Universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he actually went to Comic-Con and he talked a little bit more about this and specifically how he wanted to tackle the film in regards to introducing all these new characters but not being bogged down in the origin stories as well. So here's a little bit of him explaining how he thought it would work.
My question is concerning your next project. I'm speaking, of course, of Justice League Dark, aka Dark Universe.
Yes.
My question is, how are you planning on covering all the different origin stories to all these wonderful characters like Swamp Thing and Deadman? And if you can give us any production updates whatsoever, that'd be.
We on Justice League Dark, as you say, or Dark Universe, what we're doing is I finished the Bible, and then we're gonna start the screenplay with a writer that I hope we can announce very soon. But that, what I'm doing is I'm starting the lead character that guides us through that is Constantine. So it's Constantine blonde. He's basically trying to recruit these guys. I'm using, for example, on Etrigan, I'm using sort of the Forever Knights. I'm using the idea of Jason Blood being part of the Knights of at the time of Merlin. We get to their origin through the story. We don't make the origin story at the top. We find it out as they each have a mystery to solve. Obviously Alec Holland is the one. Swamp Thing is at peace with who he is. But Deadman still needs to find out who shot him. So, these things are woven in. But since I was a kid, my two favorite characters of the entire DC universe were Etrigan and Swamp Thing. So I'm in heaven for that.
So he's very excited. He loves this kind of
He's
stuff.
very excited about it. And do we find out who this writer is, Cambo? Because
We do.
There's been a big tease that
There
he's
has.
very pumped about this writer.
Yes. So this writer, they hired a writer, a gentleman by the name of Michael Gilio. Now, Michael Gilio, you may not have heard of him.
I've never heard that name.
So he is actually akin to someone we've talked to on this podcast before with Justin Marks, the writer of Green Arrow.
Yep.
Michael Gilio has had quite a long career of writing on projects, but not necessarily
credited.
getting all the way through production until recently.
Failed projects.
Yes, until recently, he actually wrote Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, the new Dungeons and Dragons that just came out.
So similar to Justin Marks, when we talked about it, he didn't have any credits, and then he was writing Top Gun.
Top Gun, yeah.
So yes,
Holy.
very similar. So Michael Gilio was the writer that they got on board to script this with Guillermo del Toro. Now, I need to admit something to you, and I really hope you don't mind this.
Okay, Camo, here we go.
At the beginning,
let me put on my confession booth.
Please. At the beginning of this, I said I was stoked because it's just you and me.
Yeah.
But I lied because we do have a guest on this episode.
What?
I went off without you and I talked to somebody. And I hope this is okay. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves now.
Hi, I'm Michael Gilio, and I wrote Justice League Dark.
What is going on, Cambo?
I sat down with Michael Gilio
No way.
and asked him all about this project. And we're going to be hearing from him throughout this episode.
You've hoodwinked me, Cambo. This is amazing.
Yes, Michael Gilio.
How did you not tell me about this in this lead up?
For this very moment.
This is amazing.
For this very moment.
Can we do this with every project and get the writers on, Cambo?
I certainly wish we could, yeah.
This is amazing. How did you get? How did this come about?
Don't you worry about what
Okay,
old Cambo's doing and how he did it. Or whose DMs he slid into.
How much money? Yeah, exactly.
So, I asked Michael Gilio, how'd you get involved in this? And this is what he said.
Yeah, I got a call just out of the blue from an executive that I knew at Warner Brothers. And she called me and simply said, Guillermo del Toro wants to talk to you. Which floored me. I'm a huge fan of Guillermo del Toro's. And so I obviously said, sure, anytime.
As you would.
As I would. And he thought I would be appropriate for a, hush-hush DC project. So obviously I said I was interested in having that call. They sent over to me a couple packets, like a visual, just an introduction to Justice League Dark. And Guillermo was calling it Dark Universe at the time. And it was an introduction, photos and illustrations and just a great big Bible of DC history of the Dark Universe. And also about a 55-page treatment that Guillermo had worked on, and a bit of a mission statement of how he saw the Dark Universe, and how he saw it, like, kind of an expansive plan of what he wanted to do with this. It was like it came in like 3 movements and where it was going to go and everything. And it was going to start off with Dark Universe. That was going to be the first movie. So it was very ambitious, and the treatment was, just brimming with all these ideas and characters, and it was very rough, and it had, it was what they call a scriptment. There was some scenes, and then there's like lots of beats, and then just kind of descriptions, and it was just bursting with a lot of inventive ideas, and it was rough and unstructured. And he wanted to talk to me about potentially writing the script.
Whoa. Got a call out of the blue.
That's amazing.
Just saying, oh yeah, Guillermo del Toro wants to talk to you. Would you be interested in that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Let me check the count.
I think I'm free.
Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Amazing. Imagine getting that phone call, Cambo.
I know, right?
Just, and what can I just say? One of the smoothest, most buttery voices we've had on.
Yeah, and he's a handsome fella.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ticking all the boxes.
The other thing I wanted to know as well, this is at the beginning of the DC universe, Man of Steel just releasing. And I was curious as to whether or not they were told to make connections to the DC universe or to not make, because it's been a DC. Yeah, there's been no consistency in that regard.
Not so much.
So I was curious about that.
My memory was this was supposed to be separate, standalone, because I got in trouble a couple times in drafts. I mentioned certain characters or bring another whatever, and they were like, no, you can't do that. We're doing our own thing over here, and and there were usually jokes, pot shots at the superhero characters or the costumes, as Constantine would call them, and also at some point later on, after Guillermo had left the project, there was more the storylines we were trying to bring into it that they were off limits. So it was always designed as something separate, and like I said, Guillermo had a whole ambitious plan of how to unroll all of that.
So little things there, multiple films.
Yeah,
like this is the first film.
Yeah, so I guess this was like there was the DC universe. This was the DC Dark universe.
The other thing, it's interesting that they like. So he was just saying that he wrote in like little jabs and little things like that, which is funny because that's just exactly what James Gunn did with Peacemaker. Yeah, because how he makes the things about Batman and Aquaman and stuff, and they were fine with that.
Yeah,
that's fine. I suppose the place had already burnt down by that point, so they're like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've got a good stage here now. We know the characters that we're going to meet. We know what Guillermo is going for. We know the writer, and Michael will explain a couple of things throughout the episode. Here's the thing. If you're interested in this chat with Michael Gilio, the whole uncut interview will actually be up on our Patreon.
I love it.
I'll put it up after the second episode releases because we do talk about spoilery things.
Yep.
But we talked for like 40 minutes.
Really?
So
what a
the
generous
whole
guy.
Interview. I know. I was thrilled
lovely.
that he gave us that much time. Before we get into the story, I got to give some story credit to Supervoid Cinema, fantastic YouTube channel. They actually do a really interesting video on the deep dive of the history of this book and this movie production. And I took the basic plot outline that they use in their video. Obviously, we expanded in our show. We added everything. But full credit to them. Parts of this are from his video as well. Without any further ado, shall we get into Justice League Dark? The film opens in what's described as the void, a cosmic nothingness, wind howling in the dark, existential dread. Then we cut to a giant cave in East Antarctica. A solitary figure holding a flare approaches an impossibly high wall of ice, and he uses a pickaxe to hack away. 2 heavy books trapped in the ice fall free. The books are weathered, ancient and ominous. A gloved hand wipes away the snow, revealing an inscription. From somewhere deep in the core of the world, there's a rumbling. The figure quickly shoves the books into a satchel as the Arctic sun is suddenly blocked by the moon, creating a total solar eclipse. We see black storm clouds race across the sky, and we hear the voice of John Constantine. And he says,
"Vast as our universe is, it is ruled by only 2 forces. The light, giver of life, and the dark, the force of decay and destruction. Light and dark, life and death. These forces are always at war. Always. But between these opposing forces, there's a dividing line, a blurring, an overlap. This is the realm of magic. But when you play with magic, when you trick the universe into giving you something you haven't earned, you pay for it. You always pay for it."
Oh, that sounds like John Constantine.
this is something I was very specific about, is I've always wanted to hear him, as he should be, a proper Scouser.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good. That's my mental image of it as well. That's perfect.
That's Dom Steele playing Constantine for us.
Yes, perfect.
Pitch
perfect. Yeah,
yes,
love it.
Interestingly, the last Guillermo del Toro project we talked about was At the Mountains of Madness, starting very similar.
In Antarctica and storms and light and darkness and...
Dare I pull it out again? Is there a spooky warning?
Oh! Do we have it?
Look, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, good.
Okay. This isn't as spooky as At the Mountains of Madness.
Because that was genuinely spooky.
That was genuinely spooky.
The kids had to go to bed, Cambo. It was so spooky.
I tell you what, I'll play it again, but I'll turn it down.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
In some way, that made it slightly spookier.
Oh, no. Is that a child singing in the background? Oh, that's unsettling.
Is it a merry-go-round?
We cut to Atlanta as a biblical thunderstorm batters down onto the freeway. The storm is violent, and there's a hunched man wearing a heavy hooded cloak hidden in the shadows. He carries a wooden staff and it's clicking by his side. He digs into a satchel and he scatters red seeds like pebbles across the freeway pavement. The seeds embed into the ground, and then from beneath the concrete, from out of the red seeds, a forest starts growing up from the ground, spiraling upwards, higher than skyscrapers, blotting out the sun. It's chaos. Vehicles are ramming into trees, exploding. The cops wearily approach the man. They have him surrounded now. Their weapons trained on him until the ground suddenly explodes around them and black tendrils snake up and wrap around them, tossing them across the sky. The ancient black forest has emerged in the middle of this freeway. The man's eyes glow red as he speaks into the watching TV cameras. Civilization is a cancer. I am its cure. Surrender the past. Oh, yeah. Who is this man? What's going on?
He's spectacular, mate.
It's a bit supernatural.
Yeah.
You wouldn't call him Batman for this.
Mate, the last person I'm calling in is Aquaman, Batman, The Flash, and Superman.
Yeah.
This guy, you don't know what's happening here.
No.
He's got seeds. He's got a forest.
He's hooded?
He's hooded.
We now cut to a cheap New York motel room. It's John Constantine's room. There's a photograph of Zatanna and himself in happier times on his mirror. He watches the news. He recognizes the man on screen as Jason Woodrue. He also recognizes that this is a declaration of war, and only a mercenary like himself can help. As the solar eclipse remains in the sky, Constantine travels to a used bookstore called Third Eye Books, where he meets a man named Carnahan, a collector who has somehow acquired the world's most forbidden books of spells and magic. We now cut to a rinky-dink New York diner. A confused Carnahan sits with Constantine as he tells him some bad news.
Oh, a dabbler in the dark arts, eh? Amateur Mahatma, weekend wizard. Tell me, what is it that you desire from the books of magic? Immortality? Godlike powers? A bigger Johnson, perhaps? Look here, mate. I don't know how you acquired the world's most forbidden books of spells and invocations, and frankly, I don't care. But the mere discovery of these books and your sneaky little dealings have triggered a cosmic rupture of catastrophic propositions, which is a very, very bad thing.
Who are you, exactly?
Constantine. John Constantine. Occult detective, a rogue mage, iconoclast.
So you want me
Yes, sir.
to give to you,
The books of magic, yes please.
which would then allow you to,
Return the books to their rightful place, save the world and everyone in it.
but not me.
No, not you. You're gonna die in 3 minutes now. So, I don't mean to come off as insensitive, mate. I understand that this is a lot to process in a short amount of time, but seriously, Carl, bloke, the state of the cosmic order is presently in your hands. So please, stop blinking vacantly at me and man up, capiche?
Sir, you cannot smoke in here.
Pardon me? Oh, no, I'm sorry, love. No pickles, please.
I like pickles.
It doesn't matter what you like, Carl. You're not going to eat it.
I want my burger to go, please, with pickles and quickly.
Yes, quickly. You have 2 minutes now.
Sir, I won't say it again.
Putting it out. Carl, we don't have much time.
How do you know my name?
Carl Carnahan, antique book dealer, tax cheat, closeted Satanist. I know all about you, Carl. You've been a very naughty lad, playing with powerful things that are beyond your comprehension.
What do you want?
The key. The one to your safe with the books in it. Behind the oak bookshelf in the east wing of your penthouse suite. Where is it?
I don't like this conversation. I am leaving.
Do you have the key on you?
No, there is no key.
What do you mean there is no key?
Here's your burger.
Carl.
Whoever you are, but please, I beg you, please, don't hurt me.
Christ, who do you think I am?
Let's say I would open the safe for you. Would you spare me my life?
There's no bargaining here, mate. If it were up to me, I'd buy you a pint and we'd have a laugh. You played with magic, Carl. Real magic. And when you make games of real black magic, you pay for it. You always pay for it. You were gonna die.
How do you know?
Are you familiar with the cosmic avatar of Destiny, member of the Endless and presider of the Garden of the Falcon Waves?
Huh?
It is written in his book. Just trust me on this. There's no use running away from it. You can do the world a lot of good by handing over the key.
The books are in my safe. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. Odd things are happening all around me. I got scared. I sold them. They no longer belong to me.
Sold them? To whom?
He was gonna pick them up tonight.
Who? Who is going to pick them up? We can't allow the books to fall into the wrong hands. Who is it?
If I tell you.
No time. Just give me the key.
I am the key. It's a fingerprint reader. See? My right hand is the key.
You must be joking. Bollocks.
I love Constantine.
It's so good.
He's so good.
It's so good. It's really like, it's exactly like some of the descriptions and some of the scenes literally feel like comic book panels.
Yeah.
Like you can see them so clearly in your head.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
A
pretty
cheeky little reference to the Sandman comics there as well with the Endless.
Yes.
Yeah, Destiny member of the
100%,
Endless.
Yes.
Which I'm loving as well. Problem is, during this scene, obviously, time's run out.
Well, 3 minutes.
He had 3 minutes. So during this scene, we get what I can only describe as like a Rube Goldberg style.
Oh, you're talking Final Destination style, where little things start.
I love that you mentioned Final Destination.
Oh, really?
During this scene, we see 2 movers loading in a giant swordfish into a van.
A sword? Hang on, a swordfish.
A swordfish.
Okay.
And it's one of those scenes where someone trips and hits someone that knocks something over. This whole kerfuffle ends with Carnahan. This series of freakish accidents occur all at once, resulting in Carl Carnahan being impaled by the swordfish.
Oh my god! I love
dying.
it. I love it. That's exactly Final Destination style, where the thing that you think is going to kill him doesn't end up killing him. It's death catching up, and oh my god!
So I thought death by swordfish. That's weird.
That's a great death.
Hey, Michael Gilio, what's the dealio? There's one aspect I did want to ask you about, which is early on in the script, there is a death by swordfish.
Yes.
Which is a very almost Buster Keaton-esque kind of montage of this happenstance of death. How did that come about, and what was the idea behind adding some kind of like wacky Final Destination style Buster Keaton into the script?
It's funny you should say that. That was actually, it was in the treatment, and I have it here right in front of me.
Oh.
And I actually have written at that moment, it says, Final Destination, Buster Keaton. Say, I'm not kidding. It was right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And also, what's up, Doc? But that was Guillermo's idea. Although like I said, as I started to read all the comics, that scene is actually from Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. That whole sequence happens with the swordfish. The whole thing is in Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
That's amazing, Kevin. That is literally amazing.
You thought it. I thought it. Michael Gilio thought
We're all thinking it. That's fantastic.
We should all get together and watch Final Destination. So Constantine, he like rifles through the dead man's pockets until he finds a business card marked Jason Blood. But what does he want with those books? He seems to recognize this name. He wonders this as he attempts and fails to cut off the dead man's finger.
Yeah, good.
As Constantine continues to do this, a swarm of flies start appearing, buzzing around his head. And then suddenly we see Clarion the Witch Boy. So this is a more obscure DC character.
I've not heard of Clarion the Witch Boy.
He is like he's a 10-year-old boy, blue face, and he essentially can turn into like flies.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great power.
If flies are about, Clarion is about.
Okay.
It's gonna be, but he's a super.
Is he only power? He can turn into flies?
No, he's got kind of general supernatural ability, but he is like a nefarious character.
Yeah, and he would be played by Jeff Goldblum.
10-year-old boy. Yeah.
Turning into a fly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't pick up on that.
Come on.
I gotta keep up. So Clarion the Witch Boy, all these flies come around. Clarion the Witch Boy arrives, and he tells him that Woodrue is a doctor and a botanist, and is working on a personal secret doomsday project to destroy civilization as we know it, and that Woodrue is searching for the same books that Constantine is. Clarion, he then starts to taunt John by telling him that, Zatanna has actually moved on from you, and now she's going to marry an accountant. And there's also a weird running gag that Clarion is like in love with Zatanna as well. He's like this forlorn boy. Anyway, he kind of gives one last jab at John, being like, she doesn't love you anymore. She's getting married, and he disappears.
Into flies.
Yeah, into flies. Yeah. We see Woodrow in his lab. He's hunched over a microscope. His desk is stacked with botany textbooks and documents and folders and chemicals labeled biorestorative formula. He's lost in thought. He's searching for a gateway to the web that connects all living things. The network of eyes and ears that see and hear everything, know everything. The planet's lifeblood. The engine that powers the universe. His eyes glow dimly red. From a drawer, he pulls out a hypodermic needle filled with a bright fluorescent green formula, and he jabs some into the green tree bark that has started to form on his own body. A tiny black flower bud suddenly twists up from a bank covered near his forearm. It seems he can communicate with the plants, but he's still a little bit too weak. That his intelligence is still too human. He gazes at a newspaper clipping. It's a photo of a beautiful woman with white hair, Abby Arcane, and she's embracing the monster of the swamp.
Wherever you are, Alec Holland, whatever you have lost, you have something I want.
Oh. How does Swamp Thing work into all this? Well, Constantine, he drinks at a bar, and he decides that he needs to form a crew, a save the world kind of crew. And he contacts Abby Arcane and gives her the rundown, and he asks, will Swamp Thing help? But it becomes clear that Constantine and Abby, they've had a previous fling in the past.
John gets around, man.
So, you know what? No, Swamp Thing and his love, Abby Arcane, will not be helping.
Oh,
it's
no.
a bit too awkward. So he slept with Swamp Thing's missus.
Mate, and then they're not helping. So that's so I'm assuming Swamp Thing's not in the rest of the film now.
He never appears. Yeah. We now cut to Abby arriving at a swamp.
Alec? Alec? Alec, I need you. It's important. We have to talk. I know you're there. I can feel you, Alec.
I am not Alec.
Alec, you're needed. I heard from John Constantine. He said...
John Constantine? Never again. I told you never. You were never to speak to him.
Woodrow.
Woodrow. Did I know him once? Woodrow? I forget. I forget so much.
He stole your formula, Alec. Remember? He's now using it for his own purposes. He's become something not human. Overtook one of the largest highways in the country, destroyed it using your formula, Alec, in a matter of seconds. Are you there? You feel so distant. I want to get close to you.
Why should I help the humans?
Because you were human once.
Once. Feels like a character I read about in a book as a child. A scientist who was going to change the world. But this naive man, he was sabotaged, his formula stolen. I remember Woodrow. He betrayed me.
Oh, Alec.
There's nothing left of Alec Holland in me anymore. I am not human.
You are human. You're the most loving, most gentle, most human man that I've ever met.
I'm a monster. Leave me. Leave me.
You are human, Alec.
So I should point out in this scene, we don't really see Swamp Thing.
Oh, so he doesn't actually come out of the swamp.
Yeah, because he is connected to all of the swamp.
Yep.
And we kind of hearing his voice all over the place, but he never shows himself in this scene.
Can you just rock up at any swamp and have a chat with him or not?
No,
or is it one particular swamp?
There's a swamp.
There's
He likes
this particular
he likes to
swamp.
swamp around.
Okay,
it.
good. Okay, good.
But this is how we're seeing Swamp Thing. He in fact is kind of the reason that Woodrue, the villain of the film, is even transforming himself.
So is Woodrow? Can I just ask? Is Woodrow a known villain, or has he sort of been a culmination?
Yes, Woodrue, and I guess the character that Woodrue becomes is. I don't know enough about them to speak that confidently on like how prevalent they are.
Yeah,
but yes, based on a real character. So Constantine, he actually reconnects with Deadman, aka Boston Brand. He was the great trapeze artist that was shot, and he's been looking for the people that murdered him. But when we see them, they're talking in a park, and Boston's actually in somebody else's body.
Yeah.
And Constantine, it appears as if he's talking to a young boy, just sitting on a park bench, and the young boy's being rude. And while originally telling John that he actually wants nothing to do with this group, they spot a bank robbery happening in the distance. And Deadman, he seems to recognize some of the crooks. Were they involved in his murder? And then we get this chase scene where Deadman is chasing down the crooks and he's jumping from body to body.
I was going to say something like that would be really cool.
So Constantine's actually trying to keep up with him. So as Boston is chasing the crooks, he's jumping between people. At one point, he even jumps into John. And he uses Constantine as a vessel to chase these guys and jump back out of him. And Constantine's kind of annoyed about that. But yeah, during the scene, he goes from the little boy to a passing jogger into a cop. It's quite a fun sequence. But in the end, these criminals, they know nothing about his murder. It's a waste of time.
Oh, it's another dead end together.
So then we cut to Constantine sitting with Boston in a pub, pitching him his plan.
Jump into some other wanker like you jumped into me. So what?
It hurts me to jump into a cramper.
Cramper?
A dead guy. A stiff. It's like trying to move inside a cement soup.
Look, it's simple. Reanimate a dead body, take him for a little spin so we can get past the security guards at his penthouse suite, use his hand as the key to the safe where the books of magic are stashed, save the world, blah blah blah, and then we're all done. Simple.
And then we use the books to...
Make you human again. Yes, of course. What do you say then?
And what do you get out of this?
Your friendship? Consider this an olive branch for what happened last time.
You lied to me. About everything. You told me you were...
Using your ectoplasm to talk to my dead granny. Yes, I did.
Your grandmother is alive and well and living in Liverpool. Do you know how painful it is to extract that psychic crap from my body? And you used it to get high?
I'm off it, mate. Sober now, see? Steady as a rock. One day at a time.
How do I know I can trust you?
Boston, you're tuned into unearthly things. You must know the universe is unbalanced, sick. You feel it. Woodrue.
Never heard of him.
The books are very powerful. They can help you, hurt you, save the world or destroy it. We can't let the books fall into Woodrue's hands.
You've seen the books then?
Well, yeah, not yet. But...
God damn it, John, you don't even know if they exist?
Hold up. Come on, Boston. Come here, sit down. Hear me out, okay? According to the ancient legend...
Great, fairy tales.
The books of magic possess all knowledge, all history, past, present, future, the answer to all of life's biggest mysteries. Every organised rebellion in the world has tried to suppress it. Every government has attempted to exploit it. It's like the Farmer's Almanac for mystics and magicians, long rumoured to be missing, considered a myth by most. The books were lost to history. That is until recently.
Who found it?
I don't know. Some reckless greedy wanker who doesn't know first thing about magic. Its mere unearthing has triggered a cosmic rupture.
What does Woodrue want with it?
To end civilization.
That old chestnut.
With a secret plan he calls Project Inanna.
What does that mean?
I was hoping you knew.
I mean, okay, sure. That's a very compelling argument, but... Call Dr. Fate. Give the Shadow Pact a ring. They love that kind of shit. I mean, I'm no hero. You know that. And neither are you, John.
The Costume Brigade! Give us a break, mate. We're talking about bad magic here. The voodoo that I do. It's my expertise. Those tossers in tights wouldn't know first thing about it.
John, look. I never wanted to be a ghost, haunting and searching the world for my murderer. I no longer want to be special in any way. I just want to be human again.
You help me, Boston. I'll make you human again. And I'll get you killer, whatever it takes. I promise.
You promise?
I always keep my promises, mate.
You're serious about this?
I'm sorry for last time, mate. For lying and all that. I was wrong.
John Constantine, saying he's sorry. It must be the end of the world.
Desperate times, mate. Desperate measures.
So, who else is in our little crew?
So, is that a fly?
That sounded like a fly. It did.
And interestingly, in the script, it does say that the fly, it's acting suspicious. Like
it's suspicious.
It's like spying on them. Like it's clear that it's spying on them. Something else to point out here: Deadman is a ghost.
Yeah.
So in this scene,
I was going to ask. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Constantine can see him,
Yeah.
but no one else can.
Okay.
And it actually says that people in the pub are looking at him weirdly.
I wasn't sure in that scene whether he was in Constantine and he was talking to him.
Right,
like,
yeah. No, they're sitting across from each other, but no one else can see him.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Woodrue, his transformation continues. His face is half covered in black mold now. His hair is stringy and greasy and clinging to his scalp. There's clumps of dirt in it. He finds Abby, and he tells her that Alec Holland has something that he needs. That the biorestorative formula, that was just the beginning, the first step. And he advances menacingly, and she blasts him with a shotgun all of a sudden, and he flies backwards. But his body regenerates suddenly.
T-1000 style.
T-1000 style, but like vines and such. Stems and vines and branches intertwining into sinewy tissue and tendons. He plucks a white flower from behind Abby's hair, and he senses that this was a gift from the Swamp Thing.
There you are, old friend.
Because, of course,
It's
something is
connected
connected
to all
to
things,
everything.
yeah.
We cut away. But it doesn't look good for Abby.
No.
Constantine and Boston Brand, they go to a theatre. They're seeing a performance of Zatanna. They see her huge magic act. She's doing the classic trapped in a tank of water magic trick. But it's all going wrong. People start panicking and the lights go out. When suddenly she reappears across the theatre, bone dry. The audience erupt in applause. Constantine, he's standing at the back. He's just smiling wryly.
He knows what's going on.
Good tricks.
Yeah, good.
Backstage now, we see Zatanna and her new boyfriend, Brad.
Brad.
I know. He seems nervous. Oh no, Zatanna, suddenly she knows why he's nervous. Because he's reaching into his pocket. And he's bumbling a speech about taking it to the next level.
Oh.
And he pulls out a ring box. Oh no, she's trying to let him down easily. She's clearly uncomfortable. When suddenly he coughs up a black feather. And then another black feather. And then another black feather. Till the room starts to look like it was the aftermath of a pillow fight. So she's clearly put a cheeky little spell on him to stop him from speaking. He suddenly, he gets up and he bolts to his feet, face red with embarrassment, and he runs out of the room, leaving a floating trail of feathers behind him. When there's someone familiar in the doorway.
He's a bit of a git, eh?
John Constantine. I should have known.
A numbers and figures, Manzi. You deserve better.
Now I have to chase the poor guy down and apologize for you.
Brad's fine, don't you worry. Your show was fantastic, by the way. And you look absolutely... You're still mad. I get it.
What do you want?
I can bring back your father.
Fuck off.
Does anyone like you, John?
Who the hell is this?
Boston Brand. An old friend.
We're not friends. Hi, Zatanna. I'm like a huge fan, like your #1 fan.
Really?
I saw the Do You Believe TV special back in '09. I was there in the front row when you made the Hoover Dam disappear.
You were there? In Vegas?
No clue how you did that.
I'm putting together a cruisey. Me, Boston here, and even the old walking salad has joined the team.
Swamp Thing? Didn't you have a fling
with his girlfriend? Yes. Why does everyone know about that?
You were able to convince Alec.
Yeah, not yet. But...
Well, good luck to you, John. Now, if you and Team Awesome will excuse me, I have another show in 15.
I don't think you heard me, Z. I can bring back your dad.
Fuck up. Serious. Fuck
up. Hold on. Jesus.
That was awesome.
Okay, look. Will you let me explain?
You have 1 minute.
Your father used to tell stories about the books of magic, remember? Well, I know where the books are. I need you, Z. If you want to see your father again, and I know you do, I need you to work the spells in the books. No one knows their way around a spell like you do.
If it weren't for you, John, my father would still be here with me.
I'm sorry.
If it weren't for you, John, we wouldn't need to be searching for the books to reverse the curse you put on him.
That was an accident. He wasn't supposed to be at that seance.
If it weren't for the promises you broke...
We broke, Z. The promise we broke. Whoa, I'm leaving.
I got close to you once, John, and paid a heavy price for it. I don't want anything to do with you.
That's the address of where we're going, the place where the books are stashed. If you want to see your father, Z, please reconsider. I gotta ask, though. What do you see in that bloke, eh?
He's normal, John. There's no battling demons or evil sorcerers or cheating on me with a warlock. He likes to make popcorn and watch The Big Bang Theory.
You'll be back.
He's a real piece of work, this John Constantine.
John Constantine, he gets around.
He does get around.
But one thing I cannot abide by is
Brad.
Is a Big Bang Theory reference, Kevo. No film should have a Big Bang Theory reference. I'm sorry.
But I was interested because Constantine, he's such a duplicitous guy. Everyone he meets doesn't want to talk to him. He's wronged everyone. He's lied to everyone.
He's dated half of them.
Exactly. So I did ask Michael about what it was like writing a character like that.
I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved John Constantine, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I love these type of characters that are fighting really, really hard for something. They have a big dream, and Constantine had a big dream, which was he wanted to be legitimized. He wanted to be taken seriously the way that the costumes are, And I think he wanted to have his own team, and he wanted to be taken seriously. He wanted to be respected, but of course he can't help being who he is.
When you're writing a character like that, do you need to almost approach it two ways of what is John saying, but what does he really want? Like he always has an ulterior motive with everyone he's talking to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's kind of what he says he wants, and then what he really wants. And when you're playing with these things, when you write these things, you have to be aware of the duality, right? And then, of course, in the middle of all, he's also just a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, I love these insights. This is so good.
We've gone deeper than ever before.
This is so... I can't see our way out. We're so deep.
So, Zatanna, she's told, take off.
She said, take off. Yeah. In backwards.
Yeah. Oh, no, you said it spell! After he leaves, who should appear? Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Clarion. And he actually, he declares his love for Zatanna.
Because he loves it, yes.
And he declares his love for her, but feeling rejected and knocked back, he instantly leaves there and he finds Woodrue because he feels like he's been wronged.
So he's teaming up with...
teaming up. We should also point out that in this, Zatanna is like a world famous.
Yeah.
She's got TV specials. She's selling out arenas. And so this beautiful, famous magician is wronged Clarion, so he's gone. And he says to Woodrue that there's another group forming to get his books.
Yeah.
Clarion offers to help Woodrue in exchange if Woodrue would help Clarion become human again. The pair now have Abby strapped to a chair. She's half conscious and drugged in Woodrue's laboratory. Woodrue begins to transform into something plant-based. Something not human at all. His nerves suddenly become brown and knotted like tree root branching out of him. And he says,
I sense every blade of grass. I hear their voices. Every root. Every branch. The trees. The moss. I am everywhere. I see it all. Feel it all. It's too much.
We cut away to a lagoon, in a moon pool, into a mossy field tree, up into a tree knot. Orange Eye pops up. Swamp Thing's coming. Oh! Well, we have come to the end of part 1 of our report on Guillermo del Toro's Justice League Dark project. What do you think of the episode so far? And did we miss anything? We would love to hear from you. It would also be terrific if you could subscribe, be it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you like to listen. That really helps us get discovered in the charts. It would also be terrific if you could leave us a 5-star rating. That helps us a lot. Eden, do you have an example of the kind of review someone might leave?
I certainly do, my friend. I have a review, a 5-star review that says, such a great idea. Absolutely love listening to this podcast. The voice actors do a fantastic job and amp the presenters. Every single episode has had me laughing about something. Brilliant podcast, and that was from Kit Kat Tiff.
Kit Kat Tiff, and you can do that in-app right now.
Any chocolate bar, if you want to write in at all, Snickers, Kit Kat, Crunchy, just go for your life.
If you do want to support the show and you've enjoyed it, consider subscribing to our Patreon. It's where you're going to hit the full uncut interview between myself and Michael Gilio on there, as well as a bonus podcast we have on there called Casting Calls. We talk about the what-ifs of Hollywood casting and we make the scenes real. Hey, if there's a cancelled movie project you've always wanted to hear about, just let us know. You can always get in touch with us via cancelledmovies@gmail.com or @cancelledmovies on all of the socials. We need to give a shout out to Michael Gilio, who took the time. He will be back next week as well, but he took the time to sit down with us and discuss this script. We also equally need to give a great shout out to our amazing voice cast, who are Dom Steele as Constantine, Jay Zadeh as Boston Brand, Dani Siller as Zatanna, Michael Hahn as Swamp Thing, Theresa Jusino as Abby Arcane, and Bill Sunderland was Carl Carnahan. My name is Michael Campbell. I've hosted and edited this episode, and Eden Porter, he was my co-host as well.
Thanks for having me, Cambo.
And we both produced the show. Make sure you're listening next week to find out how this all comes together, what Woodrue's up to, and how Swamp Thing's going to react. But if you want a little sneak peek, here's a little preview.
What on earth are you doing here? What is the meaning of this?
Let's get down to taxi. The books are magic. Do you have the key to the safe where the books are stashed?
What do you want, John? I don't have time for any of your con jobs.
You're looking at the bright new team that's going to save the world.
You? Save the world?
We could use a smart man like you, Jason Blood. Someone who knows all about the books.
But until then, take care.